Oh, the employee appreciation month is the 19th. Yeah.
That means we got to be quiet.
All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is our study session of City Council, Thursday, December the 5th, 2024 at 6:16 PM. We don't have to call a row, so we'll just get into it. Items of discussion tonight is 2025 budget study session for water, sewer, and parks. I guess in that order. Is that what?
No.
No? You want to let parks go? Okay, come on up or sit there if you need to. Don't have to get up. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Do you want to go front to back or back to front?
Huh?
Yeah.
That's never there.
We have a packet that we can distribute for you to look at, so there is a good like paper.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remembered.
It's a renewable resource.
Yeah, that's right.
We can recycle.
Absolutely.
We need to support the timber industry.
Thanks, sir. We're gonna start at the back page of that.
Back.
Because you're gonna be looking at several different budgets, several different departments that are all encompassed under parks. All right, so I also updated this by, the current expenses, the current actual dates. So you'll see that in there. I also had it up on the screen, so whatever page that I'm referring to, you can see it in writing, make your notes, or you can see it up above.
You get the bases covered, don't you?
I'm trying to make this quick and
Thank you.
So we're gonna start with the park, inclusive park project. This is a restricted, account, and it is restricted monies. Parks dedicated or authorized a transfer of $275,000 ultimately to go to the inclusive park project. Given some of the expenses that were being incurred in the Parks Department via city self-use tax, this amount was reduced from 275 for 2025 to 125,000, and I'll let Casey explain why. What was happening.
The real reason why is just the stress on the city sales and use account right now. If we increase that to 275, we took the extra 150, we would have put some undue stress on our fund balance. We like to have that fund balance around $250,000. That 150 would have set us out a little over 100 when everything came out, when everything was said and done.
That threshold, by the way, was set by the commission.
Oh yeah, not you. Sorry.
I do quiver when it gets below $250,000 because anything that's.
Did you say you quiver?
Pardon?
Did you say you quiver?
No, I didn't.
No. Okay. I'm making sure.
I said whatever you thought I said.
Okay.
125,000 though can be adjusted, and we're gonna talk later. I'm gonna come back to that number. Because that transfer, that amount that's in that budget could actually increase. And we're gonna show you why in a little bit when we get into the city sales and use tax side. The other amounts that come into this account are the donations that are coming from John Q. General Public, and then transfers from the A&P grant fund. They have, I think they've done 3 now, where they actually come to the A&P commission and they ask for some money. And usually it's for a specific piece of equipment, and the A&P commission grants it, and instead of giving it to them until the time they need it, they send the check to the parks, inclusive park ledger. And we deposit it into the general fund, restricted to the inclusive park, and that's where the 7,368 is. And I think there's one more.
I was going to ask if that included the 2,500 from this week, Tuesday. I don't think so. Okay. So
Is
that'd
that
be
farmers?
closer to 10,000.
There's farmers in there?
No, not yet.
No.
Okay.
That's still just committed.
Oh.
It's
you
not
didn't-
necessarily
You didn't
donated
get
yet.
it yet? Oh, okay.
Casey, what are you guys anticipating that the Inclusive Park project is gonna cost completely?
The first phase around 400,000. When it's all said and done, closer to $1 million, and that's pretty on brand for this type of park. I can't remember John Immaterial. The Inclusive Park in Fort Smith, I think it was 1.4, and it has less amenities than ours.
And you have only, as far as your donations, you've only gotten 1,000 this year? 'Cause I thought y'all had a.
That have come into the city. So we're working with that nonprofit. That's an Inclusive Park consultant.
Oh, okay.
They've received donations, and then they've also received grants as well. So there's somewhere in the range of 50 to 75,000 that they have on their side too.
Okay, so the total project you're thinking would be somewhere like around $1 million.
That's right.
But the commitment by the Parks Department is 275,000. That's for the cap. So they're gonna be transferring money from city sales and use tax to this ledger starting in 2025. They budgeted it this year, but we didn't, based on the amount of money that we needed for splash pad and other things. We didn't make that transfer, and now it'll be 125 or possibly more as we talked about city sales and use tax. You'll see that in a moment. So if you look at what the ending is gonna be, the balance, will be 8,368 right now, plus the 2,500, which is not recorded, I just calculated. So this amount of money is restricted. Parks can't do anything with it except give it to the Inclusive Park project. So it's technically under their umbrella of accounts, but they have no discretion for that. That's outside of their scope of discretion. So let's go to the splash pad, which will be one page back. So this splash pad budget, so far, we have actual to date received money of 125,460. The budget will call for 113,018 more in revenue as the expenditures start happening. This is a project that should wrap up next year in the spring, as far as the construction of it is concerned. They're hoping to have it operational at the time of the Memorial Day.
We will have it operational.
So these expenditures are gonna start taking off. The transfer that Parks is committing, and we didn't do it this year for obvious reasons, but they committed 605,264. You were aware of that because the city council approved a resolution to authorize at the concern of the Parks, the concern of the Parks Commission. They've approved it, and you ultimately approved the resolution. So that 605,000 is going to be transferred in 2025. And then you have the A&P fund contributing $20,000 a year for 5 years. They have already done one payment, and they will be doing another payment in 2025 because the loan didn't materialize until this year. So even though one of the payments was given in 23, we didn't have the loan then, so we postponed doing another payment out when there was no loan. Gave them the opportunity to use that for grants this year. That 20,000 for 5 years will cover mostly the interest payments on the loan. So it's almost like you got this Best Buy same as cash, where you got a year to pay it off. We got 5 years to pay it off, and A&P graciously gave us the interest payment on it. That's how that's working. So by paying it, we're not gonna really just pay the interest. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make an additional payment capital to the loan and pay off from the back end. So,
Kind of saved our tail too. It's helping us leverage some of our cash flow a little bit.
yes. So, the capital funds that we have spent so far is 643,000. That's coming in the sense of fees, professional and capital improvement projects. But you have 990,000 left to go. on a revenue stream that we're gonna be bringing in of about 739,000, which brings you to a deficit next year in that fund of 251,000. But in the actual account, the Farmers Bank 750,000 is parked there. That's money that we're using to pay these expenses this year and next. So at the end of this year, right now, there's 251,755 in the bank account. And that is your amount that you're looking at for next year to cover the expenses. And that leaves that at zero. So the inclusive part and this account, once the projects are completed, will be zero. And then we can close those out. These are not intended to be ongoing accounts. They're just there to account for and to give you an idea of how much money is going through and being flowed through. What we have to pray and hope for, that there's no room for change orders in this. So change orders would cause a hit. Hopefully we're past that.
I think we're past that point.
All the rock,
Yeah,
We got past the rock. We figured that
Only
out.
one, right.
yeah.
big rocks.
Now we get to
Bill
the
Park.
AMP, go back to the AMP grant and,
8 is the,
there's an
Yeah.
I tell everybody that. The AMP grant budget is page 8. And when you go to the AMP grant, you'll see that, there was a concern this year because they were running several months at a deficit. Even though this is not a live checking account, it is still something that you shouldn't be running deficit spending because other funds, actual funds haven't covered that, which would be the general fund. And, so that's been taken care of. The revenue stream for the, AMP was actually very robust in the last month or so, and they hit their target for their budget and about 1.5% more. Now, the AMP commission has gone conservative, and they're, looking at a 4% increase for next year. And that's after some discussion with the people that actually are in that business, and they know basically what they're budgeting. So they're looking to be 4. They said they would rather be low and then come in high than be high and come in low. So there's wiggle room there for additional money based on what the actual run rate is, our actual cumulative growth will be next year. Anything over 4% will drop to the bottom line. 45% over their 4% will drop to the AMP Parks bottom line and allow them to spend the money on public relations park sponsored events that right now they trimmed in order to get their balance down to, at the end of the year, right under $6,000. Currently, they have $3,358.31. There's an $8,000 expense that's going to be incurred for the Liberty Park Bridge outstanding invoice that's going to be coming in. And then our budget for next year is going to be a robust $10,600 that they're looking at, and that'll cover some of the deficit this year. And then that'll leave them with a balance of about $6,000. So anything, like I said, over the 4%, 45% of the overage comes right to this ledger, and then can be used and redistributed by him for some of the cuts that he had. And I'll let him talk about the budgets that you're looking at for public relations. And that'll be on page 9.
we didn't we pared down Fall Festival by $500 to $1,000. Christmas in the Park, I don't think that we shaved much off of that. The considerable savings was in Freedom Fest. 4th of July falls on a Friday next year, and I think traditionally Friday on 4th of July is considered the Lake Day. At least that's what I've been told. So the idea is to try to pare things down a little bit, just anticipating smaller attendance. Still do something that's quality, but not necessarily break the bank. So we'll use a smaller regional act as a headliner and keep things mostly local as far as talent goes. That's where the big cost savings will come from.
Basically, do we make much money off of charging vendors and their,
We don't charge the vendors. We only charge the food vendors.
yeah, the food vendors, yeah.
It's $2,400 that we made just charging them up front. I can't remember what the AMP tax was.
I mean, where does that money go to? Does that go back into the parks?
We send it back to AMP.
Oh, back to A&P.
Mhm.
And then you get the distribution. 45% of it comes back.
And then, oh, sorry.
I said, that's good.
Okay. The capital improvement project, this is the gravel trail on the backside of Bell Park. The goal is to pave that trail. This was moved to the AMP side of things to try to take some stress off city sales and use. Like we talked before, typically in capital improvement projects, you'd see, that's where our Boy Scout projects hang out. It's $5,000 to $6,000. I moved that $6,000, I believe is either 5,000 or 6,000 to city sales and use this year.
So, I mean, are you saying that no, necessarily, not all this will, 31.5 will go to the trails, that some of them might go to Boy Scout projects or?
No, that $31,500 is all for that trail.
Okay.
The Boy Scout projects have been moved to city sales and use. You'll see it in a second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is a grant, so this is your commitment that the city would have on that grant.
Okay.
Did you get a hold of Whitney on that?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
What's the estimated total for that project?
A little over 200,000. And that should be the 20%.
That should be how much percent?
20.
It's 80, 20.
No, we're not, no, he was just seeking
Oh.
Whitney to help, I think.
Yeah, I was just trying to
With
see
the
if
grant.
she could give me a little backup on it. I'm just going to let that process roll.
And then there's your transfer from two parks splash pad debt service at 200,000. We've already talked about that. That was on page 8. I'll just show you the details. If you don't have any questions on that, just so you know, again, what I was referring to, this Freedom Fest could be helped by more robust collections on the AMP side. So let's go to the city sales and use tax part, that's page 6.
Have we been able to get compliance out of our food, better compliance out of our food trucks, paying taxes,
You're asking for all in person, but that's next year's on that.
AC?
Well, there's a fellow on the commission, that's kind of directly involved, we said that was going to be his responsibility because we were looking at charging a kind of a flat fee. And so he said, no, let's try to just see, give them that they'll all be paying. So I said, okay, that's going to be on you. And he's, he kind of started off good, but he's kind of slacked up. And the AMP he wasn't there to, answer the questions, but he said that the, also I don't know if you say to me, the bloom has kind of come off the food court or whatever, it's because some of the vendors have left and stuff, and, but, we are getting some, they're not as faithful as, our brick and mortar, but there's some brick and mortars too. They're not, sometimes they're hard to get too, but
We need to contract a lake breaker or something.
Casey Guido, will.
Guido, yeah.
But yeah, I'll reach out to the guy.
Yeah,
I know a guy.
we're wanting to know about the collections on the food truck, special food truck card, and whether that's been good or not so good.
No, it's not been good.
That's what basically.
There you go.
I'm just saying, every driving is paying well.
But Hayden is is on the AMP, and he's the one that's, saying that he's going to be, Hayden Smith is going to be the one that's going to do the collection or whatever. It's supposed to be like the Guido, go around to them, pay, and
Yep.
stuff.
Needs to be Terry.
But yeah. He finds out, I'm sure that that's not as easy a job as, sounds like it would be.
I'm guaranteed.
Sorry, you said.
So now we're on city sales and use tax, all parts, and I want to start out by saying that the city sales and use tax revenue is being projected at 3%. We talked about that at the city council meeting. We're being a little bit more conservative than the 4.5, even though right now we're above our projected 4.5%. We're well over a percentage higher. This number that's in the 2025 budget, however, is 11 months plus an estimate for December's collection. Once December's collection comes in, that number will be inputted into this budget, and that number will either rise or lower, depending on the collections. I don't anticipate it going lower. I would believe that that number will get a little higher, which will add to the bottom line. I've got a conservative average for December in there, but if we get another 26.6% month over different year, we're gonna be looking at some additional dollars dropping here above that 40. I think I budgeted like 42,000 for December. We were well over 50 this month, so could be pretty good. So keep that in mind when you look at where this bottom line will be, because that's giving him the opportunity to have to use that money in different ways and help maybe with that inclusive park. Anything that he generates through additional revenues will go to the inclusive park to help with that commitment of 275,000, because it's transferred from.
And where are your notes there? I see a 2 and I see a 3 down here at the bottom. I said, where are those 2, 3?
Footnotes?
Yeah, the footnotes set.
Well,
Oh, they're up there. Okay. Oh, there they are. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, there they are.
yeah, that's just telling you that it's a transfer of 3/4 cents, 16.6 is gonna be the sunset, so it's just to remind you that that goes away in 26 if it's not renewed. And then the 3 is the short-term loan, calculated 12 months, 2025, the details are 755 years, 5.75% interest, graciously. Funded by the AMP. You probably should put that in. So, what you see on this in red is the principal for this year. And it is a full year. This 123,212 that you see up there was the 11 months that we thought we were gonna get the loan in February, but we postponed it all the way until we actually had need to get it, which is in August. So that's why you see the big difference between this amount here and this amount here, is primarily because it was postponed for several months. This would be a full year for the next year, full 12 months, 137,000 principal, 35,700 in interest. But we will have 40,000 in 2025 from the AP commission, which will offset that. And then down at the bottom, the additional funding for the splash pad is that 605, and you already saw it transferred onto the ledger for the splash pad. And here's the inclusive park project, 125 is already transferred over to the inclusive park ledger. And I'm just showing you how he can creatively have additional funds. And he actually has the ability to do it now. Because I did some tweaking to the balances. The commission wanted this number here, this estimated park fund balance, to be right at or not too far below the 250,000. That's their target for that. Initial budget that was submitted was way below that. And it caused me some concern, and that's why he's moving things around. One of the things that he did that we changed was, there are some latitude with what you can move in these categories. If you look up at the screen, you see what I'm talking about? These categories are, you've got some latitude as to what you can put into the city sales and use tax based on what the taxpayer said this money is to be used for. One of the things that was up there was contract labor pavilion cleaning. And the problem with it being there is that a matching concept of accounting says that you have to match the revenues to the expenses. The revenues are generated and put on the parks O&M under pavilion rental, the rental revenue. And the expense also has to be there. You can't separate those and say, well, we're gonna put the expense not where the revenue is, because it's technically supposed to be somewhat of a wash. You collect the money to clean it, when you clean it, you pay the money to the cleaning person, and it kind of makes it sort of budget neutral. Problem is that they book months and months in advance. So in '24, they paid for an event that's happening in '25, and cleaning will happen in '25, but the revenue is in '24. It's all a wash anyway. So that's why it kind of changed some of the original numbers that was in this budget.
But the contract labor is going to be over there on the revenue.
So it ends.
Okay.
So that's why you see that in there. Because I didn't want you to think, well, are we not gonna clean the pavilion anymore? We are, it's just new, and that's why.
Hey, Tom, 65,400 and 65,405, maintenance and repair, I'm assuming that acronym there is building. The 65,400 went from like 10,000 to 2,500. I mean, what are we doing there?
Why did it drop?
Yeah, so that's pretty significant.
We're going to, so that 65,400, that's specifically for pumping the holding tank at the pavilion. And we're going to try to put in some sort of septic system next year in that area.
So, and then the 65,405 went from 8,500 this year to 17,000.
Yep. So we're going to use that money to basically freshen up the pavilion. It needs power washing and stained.
And I'm gonna show you. It's on your detail. If you go to the next page.
You're talking about the pavilion at the very top,
Yes.
not the.
The Ed Wilkinson Pavilion.
So power washing the rock outside the facade and all that,
And all the wood, and then restaining the wood.
and restaining. Okay.
And then that also includes some of the smaller pavilions. They're listed as pergolas, but they're going to run through and perform some maintenance on some of the posts on those smaller pavilions as well.
So that's why on 65,405, you'll see the detail there for the building. That's why it went up to 17, 12,005 in the power wash tank and pergolas.
And then if you go down about 3/4 of the way at 67600, that's where your septic system will be listed.
Okay.
6700.
67600 is about 3/4 of the way down
Yeah,
the
it's
page.
on our paper. It's right here on check, page 6.
Oh, it's 6.
Page 6.
That 11,000 there.
The detail supports the.
Yeah.
summary.
It was an increase, the line item above that, 66210. We will be responsible for mowing the new 19 acres next year. And the quote that I just received yesterday is around $15,000. It's $15,600.
Did you ever try to shop that around?
Yeah, this is not Greenview. It's a different company. Yeah. And it's Greenview quoted me 50,000.
Hey, Casey, what,
Just for that?
that's the new 19 acres in amongst all those trees and all that?
Sorry?
In amongst all those trees and all that?
Yeah, it's the disc golf course back there in the trees. And then it also includes a splash pad as well.
I haven't looked at that real close. But let's consider maybe burning that
Try that.
if it didn't go well.
That's how I wanted to clear it.
Well,
I tried to work with Stewart and Forestry Service, and it got nixed.
because
Neighbor complaints is what they were afraid of.
just burning on those chappies, burning, they'll never know the difference.
I know that was like, that's what I wanted to do to get it cleared because it was briars and thistles before.
Yeah, it's just two different kinds of fires. I think you'd have different kinds of smoke, but I think it could be done.
And then I'd worry about burning up disc golf baskets
Yeah.
after they've got one of those vinyl coatings on them.
Yeah. All right.
And then this was previous. I tried to move this over to the O&M side to try to take some of the strain off city sales and use. We moved it back after talking yesterday. This is a rough estimate. I really think it's an overestimate. We should come in under budget on this. This is shade coverings, picnic tables, and benches. Those things are expensive. I don't think they're 35,000 expensive, but I would also be surprised if we weren't pretty close. That is all I have highlighted.
So the bottom line is that you're gonna be looking at that 282. Right now, we would have 30-some thousand to move into the inclusive part before any increase in city sales and use tax growth rate of 3%. For next year. So that 125 inclusive part is not set in stone. It could go and still maintain their 250,000.
Or the inclusive part, you're just saying.
Yes, this inclusive part of it. Because I asked him, I said, "Oh, so what that's telling me is that you don't think they're gonna need more than that in 2025, and that the park itself won't be requesting the remainder until 26. And he goes, not necessarily. So we had to look at what the potential way of funding all of it comes up. And so we conservatively did the budgets that would account for additional revenue stream.
You're the only scout guy that I that's here tonight. John's not here. Do you think is I don't know if you are aware of any kind of how many scout projects or Eagle Scout projects coming up? I mean, I was wondering if that was, I think 6,000 is enough in there for those. I mean, because we've benefited greatly from scout projects.
I think we've only got two boys that are probably in line to do. I'm not 100% sure what.
That's material costs now.
Right. Yeah. But
One of them I don't think is going to cost. I think his may be finishing the trail to the water tower. So I don't think his is going to cost. And I don't know what the other ones. I would say that would be fine for now.
you think so? Okay.
6,000 is usually 6,000 is usually kind of going rate.
You guys anticipate any issues getting a septic system in at Bell Park?
Of course.
I mean, $5,000. You think you're going to dig a hole for $5,000?
He told me 3,500.
I was going to say.
It's Travis Hawkins.
Move, Travis.
I don't know specifics yet.
2x2.
It's going to get. It's going to get sewage and perk.
You preaching in the choir. I gotta try it. It's gonna save me $12,000.
Think it'd be a 20,000
You could
tank?
put it down in front of the building, just cover it up,
Works for me.
look like a cellar.
Try. If it doesn't work, then we'll move 5,000 back to the maintenance.
That would only green grass up there.
Exactly.
Does he know where, does Travis have an idea where he wants to put it?
I don't know yet.
Is it, like I said, is it going to be one of those that's a non-lateral type septic tank? Well, that's true. I don't know where it's going to go. Well, that's what I figured. If it's a sophisticated system, I mean, I just know that typically I think a septic system at just a residential house. I mean, when you include the laterals. Yeah, that's kind of, I think,
You
I
told
was
me
thinking
30,
of talking to John Bailey. He said like his was, something like, 12,000 to put in his.
you told me 3,500 and I budgeted 5,000. So we'll see.
Well, again, I'd really rather try to be realistic about this, I mean, yes, I think 3,500 sounds great, but I mean, if y'all think, I mean, to me, like I said, a septic system is just a residential house, I'm seeing, these are gonna be kids up there, and adults using, the bathroom and stuff. I think we should really put, like saying, at least 10,000 in there.
Well,
I mean, I just don't think you're gonna get it for 5,000.
if it's cost prohibitive, what he's saying is that he'll move that back in the porta potty clean out, or not the porta potty.
The tank, the holding tank.
We'll continue with that.
But the savings year over year would justify some type of system. I mean, if you spend $10,000 a year and that thing's been there since 2014, just asking, 2014, 10 years, you spent $100,000 pumping tanks so far.
Well, we can run sewer.
Because I've never,
You're getting closer with the
There's still on rock plenty.
splash pad.
But so you're saying so I'm hearing you saying that the cushion is going to be the maintenance and repair where it says the Bell Park porta potties. You're
Right.
saying I can use that for my wiggle room.
right. I'd send the 5,000 back to that.
Something worth looking into, but maybe one of those small pump systems in the tank you have now that could pump down the hill and you could run fairly shallow up there, probably in 2-inch pressurized line.
Okay.
Make that soccer field nice and green.
Well, I guess I see 7,500. I guess I still like to see 10,000. Just to kind of just saying, I think just a residential, so I like say put another 2,500 in the handy can spot. Or
No, I'm not saying that we would build it. I'm not saying that we would build the system with that money. I'm saying that we would just continue to pump for another year
I'm good with that.
instead of building the septic system.
But you're going to put one in there eventually, right?
He had a good idea, just pump the tank.
Yeah, there's several people in Greenwood now who have little mini pumps stations that are 5 or 6 feet deep, very small tanks, a small pump in it. You can probably run a 2-inch pressurized line down at the line that's installed with splash pad. And you may be able to feasibly do that for around $10,000. And then you just have minimal pump maintenance and a minor electric bill involved with that.
That sounds like a pretty good fix.
I would just say keep it as it is and investigate Dalton's idea as well.
Okay.
While you're doing that.
Okay.
Figure out if it's feasible.
And that might be something, I don't know, would that be something that we could get some help from the water wastewater?
There's a whole commission of people involved in that.
Y'all got a lot bigger budget.
They got a lot of irons on the
Might,
fire.
Again, that's another year, that we
Yeah.
might hit,
We got to shoot
possibly.
that. We got a crappy idea for you.
Hire Greg to do it. He won't have anything to do.
Now you're talking.
Which is page 1. All the way through. First page I wanted to point out is that while the city sales and use tax has a robust 3% estimated projected growth, there is nothing in growth for the county sales tax. So that's whatever we got this year, hopefully that's supposed to get next year. And if it gets bigger, and I'm anticipating that Arlen will come through with some additional increased revenue numbers, because in November, Ace Hardware opened operations, and their first impact will be in January to the sales tax. I'm hoping that they'll generate some additional revenue. Arlen is already saying that it's doing really well, so.
What else did they have to come in there? You were saying something about that the other night, that there was something else that
Yeah,
was
there's
supposed to be coming
Two
in there.
things open in Barling, wasn't there? Well, there's,
Cause you said it was Jaegers and something else that you was thinking was coming in there.
A little foggy, what's out.
Weren't they supposed to start construction of the bridge pretty soon?
it's been,
Yeah.
Gonna be putting it out for concert.
Because it's been proved.
So, yeah, it's been approved.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna start. And,
So that might, yeah, you're right.
That may
So,
help.
yeah, that's sure right. But I can't remember any other thing else too, Roger. I mean, I'm thinking all I remember is just Jaegers, coming in to,
At the grocery stores and so other, and
well,
other things that
store
went
had a
down.
storage unit, but that's-
Yeah.
That didn't do much.
Right.
Every time I walk in and see Steve at church, he goes, send money. Send money, any denomination.
Okay.
Major checks to the city department. I just said I'll do one better, I'll just go to Bruce Terry and start eating dinner there. You'll notice the 249, probably, there's 1 month left, and if we still have an increase there, and we float above the negative, we got negative growth right now. If we get above the flat growth and do any percentage positive, that will impact that number to the Parks Department. So that number is 11 months and a projected 1 month of December. So I just wanted you to know that will possibly change when the final numbers are. And then we go to the expense side, and I'll let Casey take it from there because this is all.
well, just one
Yeah.
question there though. When you're saying that, we're doing it flat, or I guess I was wondering why wasn't 263 just carried over there?
263 was our budget at 4%. That's not flat. That's with a 4% growth from the previous year.
So the amended would be represents,
This is the actual right now.
right.
And this right here is with that 1 month projected. I'm projecting December. It's not actual because I don't have December's numbers in yet. I'll have December's numbers in the last week of December when the remittance comes to us. So I'll know the real number and I'll substitute the, I'll show you what I'm doing.
Hey, Casey, real quick, the Bell Park pave, that's the paving the trail, right?
That's correct. Yep.
What is the Bell Park extension?
That's Bell. Well, it should be Bell Road Extension. That's a separate grant that's kind of been hanging out for years. We've decided now that we're going to use that grant to fund a master trails plan. Something that's a little more substantial, has the bypass in it, and also has our existing trail system in it.
that's this sidewalk down here that dead ends at the cemetery, right?
Yep, that would have been the Bell Road extension,
extension.
and then inside of that grant, it was also supposed to fund a sidewalk from the pickleball courts at Bell Park to the top of the hill. So that was kind of a multi-pronged project.
So on the screen above you is the county sales tax and how it's projected. We're gonna do flat 0% right there. You'll see. So whatever was the actual, that's what the A is, the actual revenues for this year, it goes over to the actual for next year, for 2025.
Okay.
We're not budgeting any growth. We're not budgeting a decrease either. Now, that's all the months except for December. December, that's a projection. So I don't know what it's gonna actually come in at. So whatever the actual comes in at, I'll substitute this number for the actual, and that comes down here to impact what's the district. So we're going dollar for dollar.
I see. Okay.
That's how it works. And all of these things that are scrolling on the bottom of the screen, those are all the budgets I have to do. Individual pages.
I like the colors.
Yeah, they're color coded by Parks is green.
Green, yeah. Green grass, green.
To go back to the Bell Park extension, so are we anticipating that money is going to be spent this year?
Yes, that's the goal.
I know it's always the goal, but
The hard part is that I have to send paperwork to the state and then I'm stuck waiting on them.
What should it say, road?
Bell Park Extension.
That's what it
Bell
says.
Road Extension.
I think it's on Bell Park
Bell Road.
Extension.
Well, it's a sidewalk on Bell Road.
Technically, it's it could be considered Bell Park Extension too, because it's in both.
so the paperwork has been submitted.
No, it's
Oh,
it's
there
in
you
the
go.
works. I have everything. It's just a matter of hitting send.
We got any idea what it would cost for sidewalks in Meadowbrook? Did we ever do an estimate of that?
Not that I'm aware of. You mean all through or just from Maine to
From Maine to.
back over to Tim
Center.
Center?
Center.
We've never done one.
I know 10-foot trail
Yeah.
or multi-use, it's $1 million a mile for
Yeah, it'd be-
concrete.
And we could even get more detailed by taking what we've done on Center and do the measurement, and we can figure that out real quick.
Asphalt's about $750.
The good, well, I don't know if it's good news or not. It might be somewhat easier to go through a residential area than it is on it because
You know,
we,
we've had people come to the council meeting before asking
Oh,
for
yeah.
that.
there's a lady that's now on the Parks Commission that would requested
Expect
it.
that will be happening.
So back in the day, and there's been so many times we've had different groups and different people and different studies on these sidewalks is, and we don't have a whole bunch, but we have people that constantly stay in touch with us. Craig, shoot, he works at Alpha. Somebody help me. Lives up there by Ed, right below him on the mansion.
I know,
You know what I'm talking about?
real skinny guy.
Travis is his
Travis
son.
Craig.
Travis
Yeah.
Craig is his son.
Great, yeah.
His dad's skinny,
Yeah.
tall, skinny
Yep.
guy.
Yeah.
Travis is always after us, if you will, about putting one right there. And we went out and looked at that because he sees people walking, going to school. So what we try to do is focus on where there's already foot traffic and certainly people jog on Meadowbridge. So,
Yeah, there's a lady, she walks nearly every day, her and her husband.
yeah, but we've not done a study, but that's an easy find out how much it would cost. I say easy, pretty easy because like where Kyla lives, or not Kyla, but Gwen, that's a huge ditch. So you'd have to.
Well, I see that just like, we were just talking about the stormwater study. I mean, having a master plan and
Yeah.
where we have trails.
Yeah.
Where we have sidewalks and where we need them.
This is a hard, that grant is really difficult to use for any type of trails too, or sidewalk even, because it's only 126,000.
Barely get it started.
It's hard to say only when it's basically free. And it wouldn't scratch the surface of.
Well,
what you
and I
really
understand that, but I guess I'd rather see 100 feet. If
Yeah.
we get 100 feet, I said, let's do it.
I just know the longer you hold on to grants that the feds get kind of scratchy about not wanting to fund. As long as you're spending what you're getting.
Yep.
And you're showing that you're doing it in time, they'll keep doing it. But if you hold on to it, and things drag on, it's harder to get additional ones approved.
But I mentioned to Whitney the last time I
Yeah.
talked to her.
All
She
right.
knows, and that's kind of her job now. She knows that we're trying to pile through
Yeah.
these things.
And I guess on top of that, are there any other potential grants in the works to, for, I guess, sidewalks or whatever that we
She
could-
told me to apply for TAP and RTP grants again next year, even though we have them open. I told her that I was hesitant to, just because we had two that were still open, and she said, keep trying. I know that having a master planning helps you a bunch, because they kind of give you a punch list, a place to start, and then just start working down their list. So being able to show them that you have something that, goals that you're working towards helps a ton.
Yeah, he like AC said, even if you're not completing an entire stretch, I mean, completing a portion of it shows progress.
Sure.
People will start.
Well, it depends on what grant it is too, like what we use for center, phase one's done, phase two is in the works. We've been approved. And we have unofficially applied for phase three, which would take you to Walmart. So those type of grants require a lot, what ended up being almost over $600,000 worth of sidewalk, 80-20, but like Tom will say to you, turns up
Yeah.
almost 50-50 or something.
55 to 45.
By the time you get it built, so. But no, and I tell you, the book I described to you the other day that Jeff and I look at weekly is, coded street deal. Would be nice to have the same thing for the sidewalks. Where they're good, not where they're wore out because we don't have any, but where they're necessary, where they would serve the public.
The type of planning I'm after would include some public input sessions to where the public would be able to show up, and we would have walking evaluations of our current system, and would be very thorough.
You done?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through the salaries first. Now, there's only one thing that I wanted to get resolved, that I don't know if you're gonna be able to, with you here. But you can at least let me know if we're on the right track. The federal goal is 2.5, as we mentioned. I think I gave a presentation to the council before. The state of Arkansas's goal is 2.3. So given that, I have placeholder 2.3. That's your purview and your direction. So that's the big thing going on with that
We used Arkansas's COLA last time, did we not?
last 2 times.
That's what I'd prefer is the
Yeah.
Arkansas COLA,
I think
2.3.
just to stay consistent, we should probably just continue with Arkansas COLA.
We'll bring this up then at all of the budget study sessions so that when there's more of you here, you can let the voice on that. I think last year you were the one that said that you didn't feel comfortable making a decision like that. It's something at this point to plug it in without input from the rest of them. So at least we're on the right track. I'm going to leave the 2.3. You'll see that in all the budgets.
And I would really prefer to, just again, after we talk with, everything about the budgets, look at the merit incentives, at the end, see what all our expenses are, and then look at, where the merits fit in.
And I don't dictate that. The commissions and or the department directors, with consultation with the mayor, dictate that. I'm just the input on those.
The only wacky thing that you might see on page 3, 2 of the gentlemen on our team. Oh, good, cool. They were both hired in July of this year, so the merit increases were a little difficult for them just because they haven't necessarily been hired long enough to receive a merit increase. We wanted to do 1.5% to effective July of 25 to make the math a little bit easier. We did 0.75% for the entire year. Yeah.
And I see you have no part-time.
No, 3 full-timers now. We were at 2.5. Where we hired 1 extra.
And so, like you're saying, all the mowing and stuff is pretty much hired out nowadays?
We mow all the trails and everything except Bell Park
Except for Bell Park and the square.
and the square. Yep. Goal, and I was talking to the Parks Commission last night. The goal is to try to take some of that back, but the manpower is a major issue with that. It would take someone dedicated to Bell Park for them to mow it, all with the new 19 acres included. And I think once they finish mowing, they'd probably start again.
Well, that's just what I was wondering. I mean,
testify to that.
with all of our trails and everything, you know, I mean, can you and the four guys, or I guess three guys, you know, keep up with all the trails, keep them all the,
Oh, they're doing a fantastic job now. We've had to work to where we are right now, and hit some bumps along the way, but I think we're in a pretty good spot now. These two new guys are all stars.
All right.
Nothing on the expense side has really changed. We've moved. I bumped up a couple areas just because I expect to work through a little more training next year. Outside of that, pretty sure everything is really close to the same as it was before.
You see the contract labors on the.
Cool.
Forward?
Yep.
That's what they put the lease in, that's where it showed up.
The changes to the insurance, building and property, is that because of?
Splash pad.
That's what they.
well, I guess on the insurance health, I mean, with going with municipal, it's going to be that much cheaper.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty significant.
22.8% decrease.
It should be a wash.
My savings is the only thing that decreases by that amount.
We did have previously we had capital expenditure. Diazzo Hijet, I removed that, just more of a want than a need right now. We spot next year to where it's kind of starting to get to more of a need. We had those two capital projects in there. As he's highlighted, I moved the shade covering for the splash pad over CSUT, and we omitted the paving of the pickleball court. We're going to try to do that next year whenever we have a little more space in city sales and use tax.
And again, what is the transfer to street for?
For them to assist the parks and maybe assistance. Street can't give the free labor to another department to deliver on revenue stream.
We don't have any kind of heavy equipment in our apartment. So if we have to borrow a machine, they pay for it. They make us pay for it.
All right, I'm good.
I'm good.
Thanks, Joe.
Just so you know, parks, the operations is budgeted to be a deficit spend of $12,405, and we have to have a balanced budget. So the way that this is balanced is you'll see provided from general fund to balance the budget. General fund is going to have to fund their deficit in the budget right now by $12,405. That's not necessarily abnormal. When the situation is in reverse, like it was budgeted to be, the 6,774 would go back. So that's a budget. So it's all still just a projection. Actual right now is $12,499, but you're still 1 month of revenue stream away. That number could change. when you look at parks all in, all of their funds and all operating, their CSUT parks is 282, the parks A&P is 5958, 76 right now. Splash pad will be 0 for next year. The inclusive park will be 8,368 unless it's dispersed to the inclusive park fund people. And the 12,405 is the funded by general fund. At this point, that's what a worst case scenario is, what it looks like. Part of the revenue streams significantly impacted by the county sales, the main source of revenue. So I was so concerned about it.
It's, I mean, of course, like you said, 1 month might make a difference and stuff, but I mean, you're saying that we're, still short 12. And I hear, Casey, you're saying that we're kind of going light on the Freedom Fest this year because it's on a Friday or whatever, so it's not going to,
That's a
it
different.
is different ledger. All this stuff rolled up in there.
It's not impacting this. This is their normal operating expenses for the department.
The insurance on the splash pad is the biggest kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
8,000.
ballparking another $8,000. So 3/4 of.
Hey, anything else for Casey?
No.
Hey, Park Square looks great. Wonderful. Have you added a few little things here and tweaked them around and more?
Sure.
Maybe. It looks good.
Is it the last on the ground? Was that always there?
Yeah.
Something's different about it.
Looks really good. The only thing, as we talked about, is just the tree is, right? No, I know. But it looks great.
Yeah, we'll turn it all off.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably you're just looking at it through your new windshield.
Yeah.
Eh,
Probably clear.
Tinted or clear, yeah. It looks really nice. If we could just get the courthouse to cooperate. Thank you, sir. Yeah, pathetic. A little bit. I guess. If we-
That's my intent. I'm starting with water distribution. And at the beginning of my budget process, I go through, we have a lot of placeholders, a lot of line items that you have to have something, and I meticulously annualize every one of those. Some of those go down, some of those go up based on trends. I left my notes in my office, but no one ever asked me about those anyway, so. No, I'm too tired. It's way over there. Way over there. Okay, so
You're on page 10. All right.
I don't know what page I'm on
Water
because page 10, I'm sorry. Yes, so probably the big things, if I were in y'all's position, that I want to see are the capital improvements and capital expenditures. And that is going on page 14. And sadly, most of these are carryovers. I don't like that, but it is what it is. Page 14, capital improvements, Highway 10 bypass relocation. That's still ongoing. Deerwood's pump station with 100 kW generator. I expect a lot of these to finalize. They've just about got to. We've had them for a time now, carrying them over. So Deerwood's pump station with 100 kW generator. What price? 725. Okay.
Okay, now my handout is different from what
Yeah,
you
mine
got up
is
there.
too. That's an error.
This is what's in the budget, and your summary page is correct.
Okay,
If you go to the page 10, those numbers are right in the budget. This got changed on the fly on my master sheet, and when I reprinted, I only reprinted the summary pages, not thinking that we had made changes at the commission when we were going through all of this.
So that's kind of why I was looking at these others, and they don't have page numbers corresponding. page numbers. So at any rate, $900,000, and there is money set aside for that. That's coming from, here with the pump station, water building addition. I've spoke with Jeremy. I kind of told him this is going to be the last year. If it don't happen, if it's not finished, complete and done by November, we'll be very disappointed it's coming off. 2 fire hydrant installations, that's something we try to do every year. The 3 transport service area, those are a little more complicated than you would think. They involve different pressure planes and pressure reducing valves. And we're also running several feeds in on Rockside Drive, Hillcrest Drive, and then I think at the curve, we're going to have a normally closed valve situation. Splash Pad Bell Park, that number is probably going to go away in the 11th hour. Hopefully they will bill us out because the water has been installed. It's done. Wastewater is not, but it may be by the end of the year, possibly, but I'll let him address that. The VFD for Park Heights Pump Station currently have a soft start, and time that pump station was bigger and expensive. VFD, basically what they allow us to do, the elevated tank out there is in need of painting. When you paint, you have to take it offline and you run solely on the pumps. Well, when you take that extra head off that's pushing to, it increases the pressure, and you can cause your customers, even though they may have pressure regulators, you can cause your customers problems. So that VFD will allow us to dial in a set number. We'll maybe drop from 170 to 100 or something like that. Hartsville Creek Crossing, it's new. The VFW and the Hartsville Creek Crossing are the only things that are new on that, by the way, also. I'm also using a different engineer until Jeremy can get these things wiped off. And this is such a small project. And basically it's a line that's exposed behind Jaegers. We addressed, and that's best, there's 2 lines that go behind Jaegers, 2 transmission lines. We addressed one of them several years ago, probably in 06 or 07, which means it's probably failing. And so that's what that's about. Capital expenditures, there are none.
By the way, the A that you see up here is that Highway 10 bypass relocation. That's funded by the surplus from the ARPA money that we redistributed to the police. So the surplus money is generated for earmark for water sewers for that, mostly that relocation project.
Minus $250,000.
Yeah.
And we paid some also. We paid 197, I think. We paid some. The way it's being done, that number could go up. Don't have any control over it because we're having to kind of hopscotch around a little bit. So.
but you're saying that it's potentially that 150,000 for the splash pad will be
I don't
eliminated?
think it will be on next year's budget. I think it will be paid out.
He's gonna pay it out this year.
Okay,
So if he does,
That's
that'll
gonna-
come off this budget.
okay.
I mean, what we like to do is a walkthrough and make sure everything's done and it's effectively in, but we haven't done the walkthrough and there's some things. So I could see us maybe holding 10%, but that would be it. So that's kind of the things that I would think that you guys would be interested in. We put some money in for merit incentive, but just almost everybody that works for me is maxed out. I've got a 30-year employee that works for me. a 20-year employee, a 10-year employee, and about a 7-year employee. I've only got one in distribution that's not maxed out. Well, I just hired a new guy. So I just put a lump sum, and after the first of the year, it will be fairly minimal. We won't use all that, but we need it in there. If the commission were to come back and adjust any of these and figure out a way that we could give employees raise, we'd have a to do that, not much. So that's kind of what that's about. Other than that, it's pretty much cookie cutter. Every year you can, some things go up and down, but your capital improvements and expenditures are the big thing. Decent on trucks. In fact, we're going to probably we traded one or and we've got 2 more that we're going to auction or sell. Want to mention one other thing. I would like, I think, while it's on my mind, let me find where it's at. Machine hire and labor, I have $25,000 and I'm probably going to exceed that this year due to something that happened today. We've got a 12-inch line that we have got it holding together right now. It could come apart. We've ordered overnight a valve that'll be in next week. We're hoping it holds together that long. And basically, this is a type of valve that is cut in. And that way you don't have people out of water for extended periods of time. It can be done live. And they're expensive. The last 8-inch one I had done was about $14,000. This is a 12-inch one. So I would like to increase that at another. We've got a couple of sections of 12-inch line that when they were put in years ago, engineers left them out because they were so costly, I guess. And the problem is your customers suffer. You end up on boil orders because you're out 6 to 8 hours draining all the water down when you have to go ahead and make a repair. And that's where we're at on this. Hopefully it holds. If it doesn't, we're going to have some people out of water and we're going to have a lot of time in fixing it and so on. So, and some potential boil orders. So I think it would be prudent probably to add another $30,000 for that machine hire and labor. That gives me the ability to bring an outside contractor in, and I already budgeted 25, but those valves being $15,000 or $20,000 a piece, and I could see another place that we might cut another one in. Hopefully we get this one in this year. And if I don't need it, I won't use it. It's good to have it sitting there. We could always go with the 25,000 that we've got right now. Personally, based off what happened today, what I'm looking at, I would increase it by another 30.
And what page is that on?
It's on the.
Oh,
service
page
contract tab.
14. Page
But the
14.
valve that you ordered today is coming out of this.
Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully if it gets installed, yeah.
So that's just gonna be an overage on that line item, and you got way out in your budget right now. So I wouldn't be touching this unless you.
Yeah, we don't have to, but I could think of a couple more places for those based off what's happened today. But we don't have, we can wait and do an amendment when it happens,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, on one side, I see, you're saying potentially 150,000 is going away. The splash pad, it's not going to be included on 2025.
Well,
Right.
if it goes away, it won't even be on this budget.
Right.
The thing is, if I don't,
Right. We're paying it this year, right?
But it affects your cash and bank balance. So it's just a trade-off. It's either gonna be a budgeted item in 25 and your carry forward of the balance is gonna stay high, or it's gonna be paid in 24, lowering that balance and not in the 25 budget. It's neutral when it's gonna get the financials.
these are placeholders and forecast. If I put it in there, that doesn't mean at the at the end of the year, I look around, oh, wow, I got some money I didn't spend. I better spend that on something else. That's not what that's about. It's about if I need it, I've got it, and we don't have to call a special call meeting and start clamoring and looking for money and so on. But I don't care. We can do it any way you guys want to. I didn't foresee this coming up. This happened today, and it's going to be costly addressing this.
And so you're saying you might need another, you'd like to see maybe another 30K in there, 30,000 in there for,
I would,
For 25.
yeah.
At least 25.
This is an operational line, not a capital. And your idiot is that the line item budget is capital. This is not a capital. It plays off of their total expense for that department. And right now they're significantly under budget, so that, even that amount that he's got right now isn't gonna impact the fact that they are not over the budget in this line, in this budget. So, I mean, we still want to look at these things as line items, and it's his prerogative if he wants to do a resolution to get not only the commission to put it through, but you guys to put it through.
Thank you.
But right now, a change to this budget would require that it go back to the commission, and they're not meeting until the end. And I just think it's easier to just get a resolution at the time it may crop up, whenever that is in the year, play off that from time.
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't
And we'd
matter.
have a better idea of what it's gonna cost for one of those.
Mhm.
Well,
well, I mean, I see your idea, you know, saying it puts the customer out and,
well,
and
what happens is you have extended outages. You have potential losing a tank. You have that potential. Finally, you have long outages, 6 to 8 hours and longer, which constitutes boil order, which constitutes panic and pandemonium for the citizenry.
The purpose of this line, if you don't mind me saying, is for emergencies.
Right.
I utilized it on 2 emergencies last year, and I had to make a phone call, and before that exceeded what was in there, but it was something we had to deal with immediately.
It don't go very far. When you call, when I pick up that phone and call a contractor, send a couple of guys down, they don't go very far. Don't go far at all. But it don't matter to me. We can do it. We can do it the other way. I'm good with it. So,
You've already got this approved.
yeah. Well, we've made changes though in other places too, though, but that's okay. I'm good. So are there, well, I mean, on IT, we've added several.
There's certain functions in here that we control, that are not in here, like special election dollar amount. Once you get a handle on what that's gonna be, that number's gonna drop in. There's things that are outside his control.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Just forget that idea and we'll move on. But does anyone have any questions on distribution? There's really not a lot to it. It's mostly things that we've been carrying over. I do have expectations,
well, one
and I'm going to
question
press them.
I see, and I'm trying to follow it on the line item part, but it's that fees professional. And that might be a typo or whatever, but it says 30,000, the actual spent 12,600. It's that 63,050. And it says 80,000 for the proposed. And again, when I look over here on the 63,050, I still see 30,000.
Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me find it.
Yeah, that right there.
Because
Oh, there.
I forgot about
Okay,
that.
there's not.
Let me find it on mine because this one.
It's on page 12.
These numbers are right.
And that's-
Fees, yeah, there's, that's wrong.
Who cares about
Okay.
lead?
So on my copy, there's 50,000 service line inventory. Okay. Well, he's looking at his paper.
Yeah. Yeah, we're caught up there. Okay.
The summary page, the number that's in that summary page is the correct number on your first page there. The one that summarizes all of it together. Your detail is what is not, because we made changes on the fly when we were reviewing this with the Water Commission and they agreed. I didn't make copies of those pages.
So you're just
These are
messing
the-
with me.
Those are the numbers I submitted before we ever had like got on here like that, but those weren't changes. Those were submitted that way. But anyway, so what that's about is lead service line inventory. It's a big thing. It's an ongoing thing. We've spent some money. We're in compliance at this moment. There's a lot of things to be done. We don't know. We don't know how much we're going to spend. We may have to spend more than that. Depending on what we find, we're going to have to go out and do a lot of investigation. We've whittled that number. We have identified about 2,800 out of 4,000 service lines. Send it into the health department, hit the timelines, and there are multiple timelines involved with that. It's a very complicated thing. We've had to employ some help from some consultation from our engineers. So I just put a placeholder of money in there. We may not spend it, may not need it. We may need more. I don't know. In some cases, you have to provide sample Brita water filters to customers in some cases.
I think I'm gonna need one of those.
No,
Oh,
you're not gonna be one of those. You're plastic. We know what you are. You've already been eliminated.
and Tom kind of alluded to or something. You said something about computers and information technology. I noticed that and I didn't look at the line item that might be in there. Is there another computer y'all's needing or what's that, 63050?
That workstation, DCR submitted the budget.
Okay.
That's after the vote. And the Cisco router annual renewal is DCR controlled. Incidentals is what he puts in the budget for unknown software or computer related.
6510.
Equipment. And then DCR said that Tim and Vince both need a new workstation. And there's a reason for that. It's end of life and they're old. And so this was something that DCR was going to come and talk to you about when the general budget's done, because it encompasses the whole city. And this is their recommendation, that is what they need. If we take it out at the general, all these will come out of all the budgets. But that's what their recommendations were for. You didn't know you were going to.
No, and there's a new program to learn. We're proposing 10. I don't know why, because 11's what's the latest version, but for some reason they don't like 11.
You talk about.
We're going to 11?
You're going to 11.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna do it, they're rolling it out now, little by little, it'll just happen one day.
Apparently it's happening next year.
They talked to me about that too.
Whether you like it or not.
So,
I'll let DCR.
we'll let it wobble. Anyway, so yeah, I forgot to mention that the lead service line inventory, it's a beast and it's burdened a lot of water systems. They hired a contractor. Contractor was supposed to do it for free. They were paid a lot of money. They ran out of money. They didn't get anything accomplished. And then they called me about a week ago and saying, because I was so close, I was so high up on the list because I contacted them. I was one of the early ones to contact them. And now they've got someone hired out of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. He says he thinks he can help me. And now he's never called me back again. It was like 4:30 on a Friday afternoon when he calls me. I'm driving home, and so I'm going to investigate that. We'll take any free help we can get. But I can tell you it's so complicated. So it's an EPA mandated thing. And then the health department and the EPA are even at odds with each other. And it's a very complicated, it's challenging. Fortunately, we've got 3 years to get to the next phase, but there are things that have to happen in this 3 years. And we're going to be aggressive with it. And we're going to start January 1st going hard as we can to try to, there's nothing, we don't have any lead. The problem is we have some customers that had galvanized lines. And the way they look at it, if you have a galvanized line and there's ever, I have to be able to say that we've never had lead in our system, and I can't say that. I can say that we don't have lead now, but once upon a time there may have been some goosenecks. Well, now they say, well, if the gooseneck has to be over 3 foot long, well, how do I know? You know, and so everything's fine until someone gets their water tested and it shows, and then so I you know, I have to be truthful and factual about it and investigate it and do my job properly, and that's what I intend to do.
And this is something that's affecting all municipalities. I mean,
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. It's one thing to identify your line, but you have to identify the customer's line. And in certain instances, and then you have to tell them that they have to change their line, and they can say, nope, I ain't doing it. But you have to have documentation that you told them. And then you have to have multiple documentation that you told them multiple times. And then in some cases, you have to change the line for them depending on the situation. If you have a break or change the meter out, stirs up, you have to change it out at your expense. So it could get big. Denver, places back east do actually have lead lines. We don't. Our system isn't that old. We did have some lead goosenecks probably long ago, but before my time. But Denver, Colorado, I think is replacing every service line. There's some cities up east, northeast that are replacing. They're just going in because they know they've got them, and they're just replacing them. You know, they're not going to fool around. They're just going to replace every one of them and avoid the liability. I don't know how they're handling it financially, but
Wow.
and you know, and then what they want us to do is send letters out and ask the customer to identify their service line and to tell us what it is. How many of y'all know what your service line is?
Oh, I would, yeah.
But, and the reason where that came from is up north, they had basements, and you go down the basement, whatever's coming through the wall, that's what you got.
Oh.
But we don't have basements, and your service lines are buried, and you don't know. So, sorry, I didn't mean to get on tangent, but that's what that $50,000 represents. We don't need it, we won't use it.
You good with distribution?
I'm good.
All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to get going. Let's address water office because it ought to be short and sweet, hopefully. But I let Amber do the budget. She's, and I look over it closely with her. There's just really nothing in there. I'm trying to see if there's just the typical usual things. There's no capital improvements. There's no capital expenditures. You know, there's this big waste sanitation that we have to show, and Tom can elaborate on that, but if he wants to, but it's just a pass through that we have to show on the budget.
That's what I was wondering. When you say that one, is that 68, 100?
Yes.
That's what we paid it funds. Numbers too small. They had a rate increase last year, this year.
Have you heard any rumblings of a rate increase for 2025?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like 300 comments on Facebook.
Comment, have you heard any rumblings about them raising the rates again next year?
Cards.
Oh, cards. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about water.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
You know, he comes in.
He's kind of like an insurance guy. He comes in at the 11th hour. Yeah. But no, I hadn't heard anything.
If you have any questions, I'll try to answer it. I don't.
Well, just, I guess, I hear Tom saying that we need to address that. So do we need to do it now, or do we have to take it back to
That's
them?
our projections. So I'll show you that in a little bit, how those numbers come about, because we project that based on historical. That's not something they control. Whatever number I put in there, as an expense, the revenue's offset. it's a wash. So it doesn't negatively impact the water office, the water budget at all. Whatever number we pay to them is billed plus 50 cents.
So, if you don't have any questions, we'll go to water treatment.
Yes, sir.
I do. I do. There,
8,500 is sitting right there.
it's probably at the bottom,
It's right here.
and clearly all of that will not be used. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, because you have, I will explain it for the 15th time.
And you will again. That's what I'm thinking.
The detail is not right on some of your pages, because at the water commission meeting, we made on the fly changes, and I did not reprint the entire plan. I printed only the summaries.
Hey, Tom, I don't have it on mine.
I know.
Go borrow mine.
These are right. If you look at the screen, the screen is right.
Is there a reason I don't have it on mine?
Anybody else?
I found-
Dalton?
I just have not got used
Roger,
to
you got?
Come
it?
on, Dalton, go with it.
this screen is great. I've just not got used to using it.
This is what Windows 11 looks like.
That-
That's exactly right. This is what
Well, if you don't have any other questions, we'll go to water treatment. So Greg and I spent a lot of time, and I don't know if y'all know it or not, but Greg Cross is a very detailed individual.
Never know.
He is very thorough. We looked at everything. I think,
Yeah, where is he? Does he think he's done?
I think he thinks that.
What the crap? Pardon the pun.
He's out Monday night, was it?
He did.
You shook his hand. He doesn't.
I know.
See you later.
Gave him a hug and everything.
Yeah.
So again, the real big things are capital improvements and capital expenditures. The other are day-to-day placeholders. And it's gonna take me a little while until I start paying bills for about 6 months to get my footing. So bear with me on this, but under the capital improvements, we have this 750,000 gallon tank that we kind of thought would be built this year, and it ain't gonna be built this year.
Now, what page are you on for water treatment? Where's that?
Well, depends on which.
Page
Five.
Page
And then
5.
you go 6, 7, 8, 9.
In that order?
We're on that page up there, up
You're on
there.
that
Hey.
page right up there.
Hey, look, there's an index.
Isn't that amazing? I'm glad this is being. Yeah, it's on page 9. Your numbers are wrong. Before you tell me. Your numbers on the paper are wrong. These are the right things.
All right, we're looking.
You know, if I'm trying to draw your attention, see this.
It's a shell game.
I can't even see that.
There you go.
All right, keep going, Ken. You're good.
This is live.
So the big item is he has engineering for the 750 million gallon tank and the actual bid price, which was 2.8. I think we did an amendment for it earlier. The bid has been awarded, but construction has not begun. It's for some reason, and I'm going to be looking into this hard, for some reason has not been approved by the health department yet. I don't know why. Expect it to be and to move forward. So that's the big item. That's carryover. The only new item on capital improvements is a gate and a fence relocation for a trailhead at $45,000, and that was a commission recommended item. I don't really have anything in the game on that one way or the other.
Isn't there some concern about that now?
Necessitated by the tank. That's what it's happening.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that tank lays in there.
Well, I think they're discussing with the trail folks too. Casey's not here, but I think Teresa brought up a point that that's not people from the trail got off the trail and ended up by the dam, which has been a no-no for Greg for sure. So I don't know. I think there's some
I think
discussion.
my concern is the potential traffic on a dead-end road where trucks are coming in and
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But again, that's wasn't my idea, but it's in there. So,
That's to relocate the gate. and all.
relocate the gate and fence.
Have you heard any of that
With that,
about the concern of the trail
uh,
from the commission?
no, I just heard about somebody walking around the dam.
Yeah.
But I think that's completely separate from this.
The new items on the capital expenditure, which is 67,610, that's a chlorine dioxide unit. We actually think it'll come in a little cheaper, but we had to have that number a little bit. Hopefully we can come under that. The one that they have there now is
Yeah.
over 20 years old, I think, and it's,
I have to print each individual page. So, send it.
the RPZ heated enclosure, they have a 3-inch RPZ that's very expensive, that's required by the health department. Basically, an RPZ is short acronym for Reduced Pressure Principal Backflow Prevention Assembly, RPZ. And it's got a wooden box that worked sort of okay. We had to replace one already because in really cold weather, and we've had some 15 below weather, and I can tell you, for some reason, that water plant's the coldest place on earth up there. I don't know why, but that is gotta be the coldest place in Greenwood, I promise you. And any of those little disc get out of round just a little bit, and they won't pass when you have to have them tested yearly, and they will not pass. Basically, it's for reverse flow, and it's required. So we're gonna buy the real deal, put a heated enclosure in there. And surprisingly, that's cheaper than I thought, because it'll have heat, and it's insulated, stainless steel, and as opposed to potentially buying another RPZ, those 3-inch RPZs are very costly, probably more than that heated enclosure. So those are the only new items.
Well, and again, I realize that this is the new. You know, you show that you had a side by side. You don't need that anymore.
I think that was last year.
That was last year.
Greg purchased that earlier this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
we did. Okay.
yeah, that was last year.
Ignore your details.
Huh?
Ignore the paper details.
Okay.
You'll get a revised plan. First thing in the morning, it'll be.
Let's look at that.
The one that I sent you earlier is the same one.
So
I'm tempted to reprint the whole thing again, but I forgot that we made wholesale changes.
You know, I gotta go last.
Just watch the video.
I'm watching the screen.
oh, we'll have it all the bugs worked out time you get it.
We're watching the show right now.
So the water treatment plant's got a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of things, but
Why do we have-
I'll try to answer any questions you've got. But Greg and I both sit down, and honestly, Greg did the bulk of it, but I'll assure you that I heard and saw every bit of it. Every,
What?
yeah, 3 times. And we probably go over again. Probably.
But that's the way he has always been.
Mhm.
It's good. Greg does a good job. Greg's
Yeah.
thorough.
They're calling tonight, tell them, hey, Greg, we got some questions.
He's a Greg is a thorough individual, I promise you.
You know, he says the same thing about you, Tim.
He lied.
That's not
They
what.
got their stories straight.
That's not even. That's
There you
not,
go. They got
that's
the
not
stories
close to
close.
what I
Collusion,
said.
that's what you call collusion.
So, I mean, just pick anything out if you want and ask me. I'll do my best to answer it. I'm probably going to follow the lead on merit raises. I'm I think Greg's kind of laid out he's kind of told me I'm probably going to take his advice because he knows those guys better than I do. And there won't be anything outstanding. There will be.
So is this purchased water, or is this bottled water, that because our water is not really fit to drink? Okay.
And he might be a little high on that because
I'm just,
we've had some increases, and I think he wanted to make sure we had plenty of money in there for that. And this is something that I don't think the commission realizes, or maybe anyone realizes. But the way Greg gets the water, it goes to a master meter, and it roughly comes out to 15 million a year, 500,000 a day, and it's really hard to dial that number in. You can have it set to where you're getting so many GPMs based off a certain percentage on the set on our SCADA system, and when their tank gets low, you don't get as much, or if their tank's high, you get more, and you're really watching that. And so it's not uncommon for him to go over, and because it's hard to hit. And then if he gets behind, if you're going to pay for 15 million, you want to get it. If he gets behind, then he's trying to catch up, and it's hard. It's a challenge. So, but that was a number that he recommended. So
I was just being silly from this past week.
Yeah, we're going to 11.2. It runs about about $43,000 a month. So you add another 43,000.
To that. Be right on it. All right. Roger, you okay with it?
Good.
All right.
look up there.
Yeah, we're not gonna discuss anything.
Get out of the way right out the gate.
Did I tell you I'm sick?
You're sick and
What are you
tired.
sick of?
I'm sick and tired.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
But you're doing a good job, Tom.
Good thing is I don't need my glasses, Tom. See up there.
There you go. I'm trying.
Let's just start with sewer treatment on the salary page, Tom.
Sure they'll be there.
Definitely. I line itemed all my raises this year. I think finance prefers it that way. The mayor prefers it that way. So that's how I went about doing my raises this year for my employees. Kind of like Tim, I have several people maxed out, but I did have a few that I could do a raise for this year. All three of the employees that are getting, or the two employees on this that are getting a raise, that both of them got licensed this year. One of them got 2 licenses. One of them took a class and received 1 license. So want to make sure that their efforts were worth it. If you don't have any questions about that, everything's pretty much the same on this until we get to the capitals.
That's, yeah, that's pretty.
That's sitting down here that I'm highlighting. This Savannah, you don't see anything in here for her salary. It's because her salary is split between the 2 departments, water plant and the wastewater plant and wastewater collection. She is housed in the collection, so you'll see her in the collection side. That's why half of her salary is over here. We do an end of year transfer.
And Don, what did you say about, the wastewater maintenance 2 fella? Did you say he got some couple licenses?
He's maintenance 1 now. He will move into maintenance 2 with this raise. He actually sat through 2 classes and got a class 1 and class 2 wastewater treatment license this year.
Okay.
And then the maintenance 3 was already in that position based on years of experience, but he also went and set for a class 1 wastewater exam this year and received that license.
And so yeah, it's kind of based on, them getting these licenses and stuff that merits, that
It's
gives that
based on
merit.
years of experience or license. I think that's the way our salary schedule's laid out.
All right.
You go to the capital page, Tom.
If we were inclined to look at our paper, what number would that be?
Don't look at the thing. Just look up there. We don't even need to go back through that.
Just look at this hand here. Look at this hand.
I only have one carryover with wastewater plant, and that project is actively being worked on right now, and I'm hopeful that if they get the invoices in time, that won't be a carryover. They are speculating being finished with that project before Christmas. So if they can get all their paperwork in, we can get that done and pulled off of this budget. Moving in next year, we have a second phase of rehab out there. We've chosen, instead of moving into construction, we're going to get with the engineer and discuss a study of the plant and the city of Greenwood to determine what our actual needs are for capacity at the wastewater plant before we just go throwing money at it, to make sure we get the best bang for our buck. And then there could be a potential equipment procurement toward the end of the year for some of those needs at the plant if we get enough of the study done to determine what we need. But that's going to be reevaluated later in the year, and we'll work on possibly a budget resolution on that.
And so, and we'll have the 3.25 for that, or is that a?
Well, it's all part of what was in the original estimate for the 5-year plan for your rate increases and for the bond. These are all costs that people didn't normally see, but they know. And that's why the bond is important. You are going to be looking at having to get some financing.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when. So we're going to try to get everything lined out, and then I'll sit down with Tom when the time comes if we decide to move forward, and then he can represent what we need to do with bonding. On the expenditure side, we've got some chemical containment pallets to set our chemical containers on top of, our IBC containers. With the bypass going in and out of the plant, they took our fence down. We had to relocate it. We've got a temporary fence up now. So I do have in there a quote from Modern Fence on a new chain link fence across the front of the plant, in front of the chemical building. And then an estimate on a new gate for the front of the plant. That may have to be revisited. I think that's fairly close.
Now where is that chain link fence at again exactly?
You know where the office building is? When you come into the plant, it's going to be maybe 20 foot from where the driveway wraps around that building. We pushed it back that far. That way we could get our semi trucks to bring our chemicals in off of the new bypass.
And
So
I
they
guess
can
that's what I'm
still-
trying to get at. So it's going to be facing the bypass.
Yeah, it'll be facing the bypass. The original fence ran down the road. It crossed at the very front by the bridge and then ran down the road to a gate. But I don't know how far the ditch is going to come out with the new bypass. So we just pushed the fence up as close to that building as we could get it. That gave us enough room to get a semi truck off the bypass safely.
Well, I guess I was just wondering about the aesthetics, I mean, since it's going to be kind of, the bypass is going to be closer and stuff, it's not so set back, if we want to look at something other than chain link or something.
Well, the only issue, I mean, I can understand that, I guess. The only issue would be if you go with anything to meet what it needs to be, 6 foot tall and security standard, it could be astronomical in cost. I mean, you could easily 70, 80, maybe even $100,000. I remember when we built the lift station, we ended up putting a privacy fence around it, and this was in 2010. We cut the cost by over $100,000 just by removing the fence because it had rock facade at the base of it and a tall wood privacy fence. And so
And I guess, with the chain links, when they had those little, slats in there, in between the the links or whatever. Does
If
that,
I
does that run
remember-
too? Huh?
Someone will have to
Strips?
jog my memory, but if I remember, I think they did that back here and it blew over, didn't it?
On the street, on the recycling center. It still, I mean, they've changed colors at once upon a time. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, the one that wraps around our buildings back here.
Oh.
I think it had blew over or something. That's why
Might
they
have.
ended up putting that privacy fence in.
That was, John Landis did that himself.
Yeah,
And it was, the fence was in bad shape.
right.
That could be an option we could look at.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, I don't know why that would blow over any more than a privacy fence, unless, like saying it was, didn't have enough footing on the post or
Mhm.
something. I would like you to look into that.
Okay. Well, I can get a price on it and see what the cost difference is. Okay. Y'all don't have any questions with that budget? We can move on to collection. Start with the salary page on collection, Tom.
And which one?
Sewer collection, page. It's on the
Sewer
screen.
collections. Okay.
It's also on. Thank you.
I did the same thing with salaries on the collection department. I line itemed everything. Most of the individuals here are topped out or are close to it. I have one individual who also set for license at Savannah, who works in the office back here that we hired this year. She's went above and beyond this year and what she's done and taken a lot of workload off of me. So I'm put her a pretty good raise in there to try to move her up. She was at the bottom of our salary matrix.
And
She split between them.
She's split between collection and plant.
And he is split between plant and collection. So he's housed in the plant area and he transfers half the salary back over to collection so that each department's representing a portion of the salary for the team. That's why it says C sewer plant. But this is how much comes back.
And so you're saying explain again with Savannah, the 13% increase?
She's at the bottom of the matrix. She's housed out of two departments. I put a pretty good raise in for her. She went and got a class 1 license this year. She's taking a lot of the workload off of me this year. She does all the purchase ordering for the department. And she's also, I've been training her in the reporting for the paperwork for the permit, the state for the treatment plant, which was the purpose behind the license.
And all right.
Looks good.
Are you advertising for those open positions right now?
Though we don't have any open positions.
But it's not staying open. It was a position that was there, we just eliminated it.
So that mechanic 2 is just gone.
Tim still has that in his budget. He may actively look at that. That's something we discussed. Our mechanic retired this year and we haven't nailed down what we're going to do or if we can even feasibly find someone for what we had our last mechanic for.
Are you still are y'all not utilizing Will Street? No?
He put a cord on
I didn't know if y'all were splitting with,
For maintenance right now, we've set an account up with the Quick Lube oil change place here and they've been doing some of the minor maintenance. Anything major, we'll take to
Yeah.
Allied Automotive or take it to the dealership for some of the newer vehicles until we figure something else out.
We want to leave the position and fund the position. Randy, who knows, he no longer works here, but he's here.
Oh, I know,
a lot.
more than he was when he worked here.
And so we keep thinking that he can only make so much money, but we keep thinking that he might want to work a day
Yeah.
or two here and there. And I can tell you for what we paid him, you will not get anybody of his caliber. You'd have to pay twice as much, and you'd still be fortunate. But,
Yeah.
so we decided to leave it, fund it, and if we come across that right individual, that's, maybe we could find another fellow to fit that spot, I don't know. It's not something, mechanics, I don't Henry, one of our vendors said, Tim, I was paying my mechanics $25 an hour, and all I was paying them good. I had to go up to $35 an hour just to keep them. This guy had probably $10,000 worth of his own tools down there. We were paying like $20 an hour. So, and that was after he'd been here 10 years. We were paying. That's what he worked up to when he left. So it's going to be hard to fill that niche, but I'm hoping if we have some money in there that maybe he will come back and want to work a day here, a day there, and help us skill. He came out to the bottom on for free one day. Just see bored, I don't know. I don't know, should be doing that.
And then the wastewater maintenance two guy, that's going to be eliminated, or
I think that's just a typo that never existed.
it's on the screen though? I'm not looking off the paper. It's on the screen. Oh.
I think maybe in this process, trying to accidentally added an extra line in there or something, but
Oh, God. Oh, there you go.
Where is it?
It's a miracle.
I don't even remember what we were talking about now.
Moving on.
It's not on your screen, is it, Roger?
No.
It's not on this screen over here.
That's right.
It's over here.
Yeah. Looks good.
One thing on the maintenance repair sewer lines, line 65300.
65.
One of these pages on the sheet were not supposed to be referenced, Tom.
Are you on, capital?
It's not a capital line. I think it's the page before that.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. We did some smoke testing this year at Indian Hills on a section of line that we had already had replaced in its entirety and found several issues on the customer side. So after discussion with the commission, we decided to add that as a line item in our sewer line section to try to actively do that every year in a certain area of the community and find out what kind of issues we have in our system. And then on the capital page for collection, we've got the bypass line relocations. We did a phase of that this year. They installed 2 sleeves for force mains from number 1 lift station to the wastewater plant. That came in at $250. I estimated the next section of it at $350, so that's what we'll move into next year. It is a carryover technically because it's just one big project that we're trying to get done as the individuals on the bypass need us to do so. Ware Road lift station's a carryover. 95% of the engineering's done. We've got to acquire some easements from property owners on Ware Road, and then we can move forward with begin construction on that project. There is a slight increase I've added in there just in case something goes up. There's a carryover for engineering at Indian Hills. Our engineer informed me that should be done before the end of the year. The plans on there are like 99% complete, so that may come off if he gets a final bill into me and we have a time to go over the plans and review them. And then we'll move forward with the final phase of Indian Hills rehabilitation next year, which I've estimated about $1.5 million. And then we implemented the SCADA system on one of our lift stations this year. It gave us a lot of data that we needed, but I didn't really care for the system, so we got an estimate from another individual. And this estimate is for 2 separate lift stations. That's the same individual that installed the SCADA at the water treatment plant this year. So I tried to go that route so we could kind of keep all that under one umbrella. And then mini mall lift stations on the docket to be replaced in the next couple of years. But instead of moving forward with that, with the bypass running down towards 71 Highway, we're going to do a drainage basin study with the engineers to determine a possible new location for that lift station, somewhere between Walgreens and what's now Elm Street, to possibly provide future sewer for all that vacant property on Elm towards 71.
What's now Elm Street? I'm trying to think.
It's Old 10, isn't it? Isn't it's section of it's Elm and then it's,
Oh, okay.
where the bypass is
Bypass
going to
up
run
there.
down to 71. So we're going to try to find something where we could put that lift station, since we have to replace it, maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone and pick up some more service area out of it.
I don't suppose there's any consideration for that to accommodate going out 10 too. Is that going to be anything to help with that or not?
Well, we're going to, according to Jeremy, when I talked to him, he's going to pull a big study of that area and kind of see where everything flows to find the best location we could put that. And then there's potential for a second, maybe smaller lift station that we could utilize to pick some more area up that would send that to this new mini mall site. And then in addition to that, we're going to pull the force main from it off of number 1 lift station here in the middle of town, take it straight to the wastewater plant, which frees up a lot of capacity at the lift station here that we already have.
Simple as all that.
Yeah, it's real simple. Just do it and don't think about it.
When we say the mini mall, you're talking about the one right there across from Walgreens?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, it's undersized. It needs to be about 4 times the size that it is now where it sits. So that's going to be a pretty expensive project when we move forward with it. So we're going to try to hopefully get some more service area out of it in the process.
Since Tom's out of the room, if everybody worked to turn 29. Joking.
Because you've had quite a few motors that got burned out. at that
We did. That
substation.
was very expensive. We went over our maintenance repair pump line this year because of that. The transformers blew up at that site and we went through 4 pumps on it and we had a crew on site for 2 months trying to get it put back together. So that's definitely
Pretty
something that needs
costly.
to be addressed.
Yeah.
Capital expenditures for the collection department are pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to get a line laser to help better grade lines for sewer line installation. We're going to get a new replacement wet weather pump for the number 1 lift station. We had one of those go out here a while back. It's a German-made pump. We needed a replacement cord for it. The cord was $2,500 and it was going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get. And they can't get any other parts to rebuild it. So we went ahead and bit the bullet and bought a new pump that we could get parts for and have worked on here in Fort Smith to replace that. So I've got in the budget to do the same thing for the other side next year. Try to head that problem off before it arises. We feed a chemical at number 1 lift station, so we're going to get another IBC containment unit for that. And then we're looking at a new portable push camera. The one we have is getting pretty old. Our old one finally quit, so we'll move the one we have now into the spare and get a new one. And that's pretty much all I have, unless y'all have any questions.
Just and that might be one of these things here, but just as far as the pump station there at the bottom of Shadow Lake or whatever, that's, I don't know, you always have problems with or whatever.
We do. I mean, we've been fortunate this year. We haven't had too many issues with it, but the commission's actively working on it. They've got a committee put together to discussing what we could possibly do out there, but it's just maintenance as usual and solve the issues as they arise until the commission decides what direction to go with it.
Now you want to shoot it. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
So I want to show you the summaries of all of them so that you'll understand what impact this has to water O&M funds, sewer O&M funds, and city sales and use tax funds. So I'll start first with the water. I'll go all the way back. So everything that you heard as far as the expenses are concerned, and this is called the water combined, because there's a water O&M, and the water revenue stream comes in basically through, that's water combined. Okay, the water operating budget brings in most of its monies from the capital side, because it's a wash. The city sales and use tax funds all expenses for capital are paid through the water and the sewer O&Ms. And city sales and use tax funds it through a transfer. And we do transfers once a month after we see what expenses were incurred. They also have their revenue stream from the sale of water or the utility bill that they get, the water bill. And this is the water portion only. And of course, the admin fee for the sanitation is the 50 cents. And then that number that you saw that we budgeted $594 down in the line for, what do you got in the bottom, this 594,263, whatever number I put there, the revenue is also put there. So it has a negative impact to the bottom line. So yeah, it's a little bit low right now because of how it was projected, and now we've got more real numbers in there. So I'll just adjust that, but it's not gonna have any impact on the bottom line.
Up there at the top where you're looking at the revenue, the WSR,
Water system revenue.
yeah, I mean, that looks like a pretty significant increase to me or whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Is it, and that's because of the 2 years
I'll
of,
get to that. I'll show
okay.
you exactly how the revenue is being projected. And that's the second, that does include the second year's revenue generated from the increase.
okay,
Right. And remember, the first year that was there, we budgeted $2,050,000. Right now, we're at $2,070,000, but we're still having to do one more month of transfer, which is December. So it seems like it's a big increase, but it's really all generated by the rate increase.
Okay.
And you gotta remember that when we did this, we budgeted debt service already in there. The debt service is in the rate increases. So they're paying for the debt service right now, that ultimately they are going to have to incur. And I'm gonna show you why in a second. But bottom line is on the O&M side, they're $40,000 operating wise in the hole, but they have right now they're at $650,000 in the bank as of yesterday. So the 40,000 will come out, that'll leave them at the end of 2025 at $610,000. I'll get into that in a minute. I'm gonna go to now the sewer or wastewater. This is a combined wastewater because they have operating revenues and they split out the two departments. They used to only do one. It used to just be sewer. We had sewer and sewer expense. But the revenues for sewer went from a budget of 1.5 million, almost 1.6 to over 2 million. And in the past, before the rate increase went into effect this year, in 23, that number was under $1 million. It was more like 800 to 900,000.
wow.
And that was what they were living off of for 11 years prior. It was very woefully underfunded. And water was carrying them because we report this consolidated. Water is reported as a consolidation. So water sewer is added together, and here's your water wastewater department's revenues and water wastewater's expenses. That happened to be good for so many years until water could not support the deficit of the sewer, and that's what prompted us to have to look at rate increases. If not on both water and sewer, at least on the sewer side. And we had that planned, and then COVID hit, and then we delayed putting that in because we didn't know the impact. Commission said they didn't understand how that was going to impact the consumers and how they were going to be struggling, so they wanted to put off that rate increase for a little bit. And then we got the 605, and then everybody had to go do it, so it's a good thing. So the sewer is in a much better shape. They're looking at a surplus else of $364,000 based on their operating. And this is not including, this is not capital now. This is only their operating. Capital's a wash in this number. The register balance right now, they have $500,000. They're gonna bring in another 360. So at the end of next year, if the budget materializes the way it is, they would be well over $750,000 in the fund. That's unheard of. They're normally, I'm having to cash flow it every month with transfers from city sales and use tax just to keep them solvent. So much healthier, or combined, both of them are healthy. As far as the city sales and use tax, a little different story. All right, so what you just saw in those capitals that were detailed for you was $10 million worth of capital expenditures. You're only bringing in 2.2 million in city sales and use tax. Good news is it's permanent. You're bringing in $100,000 in interest, although I don't see that materializing if these projects that they're telling you are going to be starting to be paid out in 2025, because that's going to deplete the city sales and use tax, which is a separate banking account. It's going to deplete that account down to where the interest isn't going to be as much. You're not going to have $6.8 million in the bank. And what you have to realize is that $6.8 million is committed money. It's tied to projects right now. It's not like any of that is unaccounted for, sitting around, we could invest it. We did have, until we were forced to look at a 5-year plan and what's down the road, we did have idle cash that we could use and pull back. But right now, the spending and the projects that are out there are significant enough to where we're looking at, are you going to do these projects? So when you look at this, $2.3 million is the revenue side on the city sales and use tax, but your spend is $10 million. So you're looking at 5.6 in water and 5.2 in the sewer, from what you just saw. So that's $8.5 million overspend deficit. You have 5.5 million right now in that account. You have the 972 that's going to come from the city restricted general surplus funds. And then you have a budgeted revenue deficit of 8.5 million. If they hit that budget, like they say they would, you will be in the hole in that account by $2,052,000. So now, there's one side that says, yeah, there's only 16% capital spent right now. So that's why that balance is so high, is because they didn't hit that. And if they did, you'd be deficit right now. So the concern is, are these realistic expenses for 2025? They're saying they're pushing it to make that happen. Now, I don't think I hope we would at least get 50% next year. And I think most of this will come from the sewer side. But now you see why we're projecting at some point, based on the projects that are already in play, you are going to need to have funding. There's just no way around that. And that debt service is already calculated in the rates.
And when you say financing of, but I mean, but of how much? I mean, 5 million, 10 million?
Well, right now, we've only got the 2 years of the 5-year plans expenses in here. So you got 3 more years of very relative.
The legislation that I just talked about a few minutes ago could easily cost every bit of $4 million.
We anticipated $13 million when it was all put on the drawing board for May, when she was here doing the rate studies. We were looking at capital projects over the next 5 years of 13 million. You only had 6 in the bank. So that's why we targeted a debt service on 7 million in the bond, primarily because of the numbers they provided. So that number could drop to 5 million. It could go to maybe 8 or 9 million. And you can't go to Farmers Bank and get $9 million. And you wouldn't want to do that either. You'd want to spread it out over a 40-year period. not a 5-year.
Well, also, that 3.25 for equipment procurement on phase 2 of the wastewater plant. If we were to move forward with that, that's an estimate. It's not nailed down. And that doesn't include the cost of installation and any other types of construction that go into that for 2026.
But I guess looking at the 10 million spend or whatever, but realistically in your mind, are there enough construction people, are available, in this area to say, oh yeah, we could bid it all out and get it all done?
Well, that's one of the major issues we face this year. I mean, a few projects that we have bid out, we've been lucky to get 2 bidders.
Right.
And a lot of the cost increases over what we had budgeted could be because of that. There's not enough people to keep in the market. So, is there someone to bid on it? Probably. Someone will bid on the project because they want the money. But how much is it gonna cost? That's up in the air.
The key is that the more you kick the can down the road, the
Right.
more it's gonna cost you. And the other thing is that 80 to 90% of your projects that you saw up there are the maintenance and infrastructure projects that are maintaining their current systems, not growth-oriented projects. Eventually, you're gonna be needing to get to expanding certain treatment plant, or expanding the water plant, or building another one. And that's for growth. And when you do that, you're talking big dollars. So, I mean, you can say how conservative this is, but we've got to be realistic. This is 11 years of kicking the can down the road, if you will, just as an illustration. So how we got where we are. And they knew it 2 years ago when we started looking at the rates.
Sure. I mean, pre-COVID, this might have only just cost us, instead of 10 million, it might have been 7 million or whatever, The other thing is, how many homes or whatever do we still not have on sewer? Do you know?
I think, new customers.
About 500, but water has about 500 more customers than wastewater.
Yeah.
Good thing.
And now, let's go back.
I can vouch for one.
But, and I guess on that, is that also in these kind of numbers here too, to try to attack some of those?
With the commission, I don't think it was ever taken into consideration of the rate study. We did spend money for engineering, Evergreen
Right.
2 years ago. And I think what we determined was the cost versus our return was so astronomical that it didn't make logical sense given we had pre-existing customers that had failing infrastructure.
There's about 3,400 sewer customers, about 3,900 water customers.
So what I want to show you now is how we projected the revenue, or how I projected the revenue based on year over year. The actual revenues, and of course it was projecting these are the revenues for 2024. It now includes December. I just put that in today. So here's your sewer, your water, your sanitation, which is where that number came from, the admin fee, and the surcharge. That is the 50. That is the 25% or whatever it is for the Milltown users.
Yeah.
And this admin fee is the 50 cents on the sanitation. So all those numbers plug up to what you see up here: water, sewer, sanitation, and surcharge. We had actual revenues of 2.2 million. This average monthly bill was $200,000, and then the rate increase, which are calculated below, is a fixed number. It is not based on usage. It's a fixed number. It's basically for your debt service. But it's $7.60 increase on the sewer side and $8.45 on the water side, or 16.05 for both. And there are it's about 500 in this case, because we're budgeting 3,500 sewer customers. It's slightly less than that, but we're thinking that it would be a growth. And then water rate, there's 4,000, there's 3,900, so it's right in that ballpark. And that would equate to a monthly amount of 26,600 for the sewer, 33,800 for the water, or an annual of $319,000 and $405,000, respectively for both. So when you plug that in up here, you're gonna get, instead of 4.4 million for all of that inclusive, and we do have an 8% increase on sanitation, just to budget an increase for them. Doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen, but more than likely it will. That's $5.5 million, or a 24.36% increase in the revenue stream caused by the rates. But there will be, the only increase you'll have over the next 3 years is not the pre-planned, it's gonna be CPI, if you wanna do CPI.
Yeah.
And that's an option for them. So it's, this is the end of the major pain is right now.
And I think we should do CPI at least, if not yearly, at least every 2 years, throw it in there.
We'll just put your email address out there.
You might skip 2026.
There you go. That would be the year that I'd skip.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I'm saying, going 11 years is,
Yeah, we know that, but the person that moved to Greenwood last year doesn't care about that.
right. Well, just like the mayor said, the 200, 300, complaints there. It's funny how when you read them, they just talk about your water bill, and they say, oh, the water bill over, I'm on James Fork, and our water bill is this, and it's like Greenwood is, I'm thinking, yes, water, and then there's water, sewer, and trash, which is, not comparing apples to apples.
We can make the water bill go down by almost $17 a month just by making cards to their own building. But it's not gonna impact the residents any, they're still gonna have a sanitation bill.
Yeah.
But they unfairly, as it is, equate that to us. They say, well, the city raised the water bill again.
Right.
So I wanted you to see kind of how that all played out. And this was all explained to the water commission. They heard this whole speech. And so they've seen it.
Well, and with the bond presentation, earlier this year, that just your expert opinion, do you think that, in the next couple of years, rates will tend to go down?
Yeah, they're already favorable. Plus our bond rating that was increased. We now have been an A minus, I think, from a B plus plus. So we're looking good in that respect. So the cost of borrowing went down for us based on the rating, and then the market itself, interest rates have dropped. And I watch that every day. I get daily update from the Federal Reserve.
And so then, again, based on your opinion, when do you think we should approach trying to do a bond?
Well, it's all going to depend on how aggressive they are this year. My personal opinion would be, based on the historical spend, you're looking at 2026 when we would be aggressively looking for the bond. I don't see us hitting that deficit this year just based on a 16, even if they did 50%, it's not going to, you're only looking at 5 million and you're going to still be in the plus of about 3. So I just don't see, unless you promise. Right?
Do you promise, Dalton? Do you promise?
Well, if we gotta worry about waiting on engineers, we're gonna be here a while.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So in other words, we're putting it off as far as we can.
Yeah.
Until it gets to the point where it's, that, the day of reckoning is what I call it, is going to happen. When is the issue.
I will say this, because when I sat down with the engineer to have a conversation on this project, he did tell me that like the ARPA funds that we received, we weren't the only community in Arkansas to receive those. So the engineering firm is overloaded because of deadlines on all that. They're telling me that they're gonna see the leak in the engineering field early next year, and the project deadline's in 26.
Correct.
So we should see all this kind of phase out and things kind of get back to normal in 2026.
The problem is though, is you may ease the engineering backload, but then it's gonna go to construction.
But that has to be completed by 26.
Yeah, 2026 is the construction deadline, so
Yeah.
contractors will be freed up on all this pre-dedicated work from the government funds in 2026.
Yeah, but when the engineers release the plans, you're gonna have, there's only so many people that actually can do the construction. So there's gonna be a traffic jam in construction projects.
The
and
problem
the
with
number of
that
folks
is, though,
doing it.
is that puts the ARPA money at risk.
Right.
So those towns are priority to get that done, and those contractors have to do it.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you they're gonna be on. You don't wanna pay that back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we shifted. Initially, you guys approved for the first tranche to go to the water sewer. And we were real quickly talked out of that because of all of this. All of the red tape and the deadlines and the engineering and all has to be all timeline. And we didn't have a timeline on revenue replacement. Well, it changed because have you been thoroughly entertained?
Yes.
Okay.
Just we get the discrepancy between the two screens, corrected.
Oh, I will never do that.
We never did. What's your screen?
Very good.
Wait, look at the screen.
Yeah.
Get the screen off.
I'm trying to do that, put this technology up there, but I thought it would be
That's it.
easier.
Everybody good,
But I will say that has helped.
sir?
December 12th,
12th, I think it is, right?
Week from today.
next Thursday,
Yep.
Next Thursday.
same bat time, same bat
Can
channel.
we invite the rest of the council?
They've been fine.